an insight into subtle shifts in thinking and sort of mental dimensions we find ourselves in with anxiety. So there's one thing that people don't understand about OCD, if they're not an expert in it, is that it's got kind of layers. 17 years old, it was chronic, but it was nothing like it was at 21. 21 OCD for me felt like OCD on steroids, the next layer up. At 23, it felt like it took on an extra life of its own. Now, do I think there was genetic shifts at those times? No. There was sort of compounding layers of additional fears and beliefs. Like, what if I keep attacking myself internally in my head 24/7 on top of the thought to make it worse? And then that felt like it jacked up a gear. What happens if I'd done something, forgotten about it, it was a real event, and then my life's ruined? Hadn't had that thought before. Then it doubled up. Physical symptoms. I remember one day lying in bed, I was reading some forum on anxiety, and I lived in this apartment by a canal in London. It was a lovely day, and I woke up in bed, and I thought to myself, I was reading this forum, because I was reading forums so much, and this forum said, someone in there was like, oh, I have such bad physical anxiety in my head, like locked in, depersonalization, derealization. I was like, what the fuck's that? I was like, my mind, like itself, although I'm very scared of something and there's that like kind of adrenaline fear, the mind doesn't feel feels kind of clear, but it just feels like there's fear. And then I thought, well, what happens if you then become scared of your thinking, scared of your blinking, your breathing, your mental processes? And then felt my mind had been engulfed in an additional layer of anxiety. So all these things take on different forms. And then if I look back, I can sort of pinpoint all of these things from when the acid reflux started. I remember there was a guy who was the boyfriend of my girl who used to work with me, and we were good friends. And he came around to my house, and I had this fear of, he was cooking dinner at my house, and I had this fear of like eggs and chicken. He kept saying to me, Rob, you are so OCD about making sure that the hands have been washed after the eggs and chicken. I was like, no, not really. Like, you can get something like this. But I didn't realize at that point, I was so zoomed in on that. And then after that, I was focusing on my eating and fear of getting food poisoning. Then acid reflux kicked in. Plus my diet was fucking shit at that time. Like, I was literally rushing around having I remember at one time I was having like 2 Big Macs a day. Yeah, like 7 days a week, because I was doing all this weight training and I had no idea I was just thinking, oh, you need to eat more and more calories. And that really fucked my stomach on top of things. And then I was having loads of Coca-Cola plus that. And so diet does play a significant part in helping having a better balanced stomach and feeling better, but it doesn't cure OCD by any means, but it certainly helps layer some foundations. And so, I was just eating so much crap. That doesn't mean you have to eat perfectly. You can eat chocolate, donuts, have fun, and eat healthy as well, a mixture, a balance. But, at that point, all of that was just sort of taking on a life of its own, each section. And then when the sleep problems came, that felt like my whole life had been turned upside down. Bowel problems came. I became very scared of that, not being constantly checking bowel movements, because I thought that would be like the inside of my body breaking down. I often thought if people could see inside my body, they would see how fucked everything was. But from the outside, it looked all right, because once I'd got a shirt on, smiling, looking good, bit of a tan, people were like, you're looking good. Even when you feel absolute crap, if you've got a bit of a tan, people are like, you're looking good. And I was like, I really don't feel good, And then when I was 20, 21, I used to go out, have so many vodka Red Bulls, no problems. Then when I was in real anxiety, I would go out, I'd have a couple of drinks, I had all these weird symptoms. I'd have ones where I had hangovers that lasted 2-3 days, but it was like the anxiety mimicking that. Anxiety was a master at mimicking flu as well. I constantly got really bad flu, temperatures, loads of all the symptoms of flu, but I didn't have flu. I had anxiety, but it can mimic it, and it came out of nowhere. So I was always convinced I'm so run down, but I wasn't run down at all. It was just an illusion, because anxiety creates fake flus. People don't realize that. I could write a whole book on that just alone. Fake flus. It's like it would give me the symptoms of shivering hot and cold, tired, like the mucus in your throat where you think, oh God, I'm really, there's a flu coming on. And then I would sort of retreat at home for 2, 3 days, and then it would sort of lighten up a bit. But it would have lightened up if I'd gone out and distracted myself, you know? So all those things, I had so many bad symptoms. I remember I was one time at a boxing fight abroad. I'd gone, I took my dad away, and we went to this boxing event, and I was sitting there, and it was a great fight. And I remember sitting there, my dad was watching it, like was really into it. I was watching it, but I wasn't into it because I had the worst acid reflux at the time. I thought I was literally going to choke and die and end up in hospital. I didn't think I was going to make it out of there. And then when I was in the hotel at night, it would like wake me up at night. I'd feel like I was choking in my throat. I literally thought that was the end. Like so many points, I thought my health was the end. And then it turned a corner. Like such bad back pain, such bad acid reflux, such bad insomnia. I thought, I'm going to be dead soon or something's going to go wrong. This is never going to change. And then suddenly it changed. You know, any physical symptoms, let time pass. Like I've had physical symptoms that have felt so strong. I thought that's never going to go, never going to go. And then you get better, you know, because it changes. So this is some insight into the depths of that real physical anxiety nature of OCD that people don't understand and people won't talk about. And if they don't understand it, the things that I've explained there are going to get misinterpreted as flu, other problems of the stomach, loads of colonoscopies and endoscopies to check and rule that out and so on. I had so much of that. So just think about those things. Anxiety is very, very sneaky.